go! Good evening. Welcome to the Steel City Huddle podcast. I'm Leanne Lohman, joined tonight by my partner, Zach Franciscus. Zach, I just watched our intro and thought, yikes, I bet we really have to update it this season. Like, there's already changes that need to be made, but we probably are really going to have to update it because I'm still, like, in my heart, like, is panicky over this, like, anticipated exodus out of Pittsburgh, right? Like, for a bunch of players. So let's talk about where the team stands right now. So Mike McCarthy is hiring, like, apparently you have to have a tie to Mike McCarthy, have a tie to Pittsburgh. I don't know, be able to consume like 2 Pittsburghers in under 30 minutes. I mean, what is the criteria anymore for all these coaches they're hiring? Because it does seem like it's like his friend group, right? I mean,
it's a lot of people that have worked with him, but if it was just people that have exclusively worked with him, that would be one thing. But these guys have extensive experience. I mean, and even the guys we haven't, like, we're looking into Brian Angelico, who's a tight end coach and pass coordinator from Minnesota. He has been coaching since 2006 or 2007. So the, guys like that, and that's one of the lower experienced guys. So I'm excited about the experience. That's the number one thing I wanted. So if we're not going to get the young guy that the Ravens got and a Jesse Mittner type of guy, then at least we have not only an experienced coaching staff, but a wide range. This is going to be it's already, I think, bigger than Mike Tomlin's coaching staffs have already been, and he's not done yet. We're just going to keep adding. I mean, we have, I don't know. Did we have a chief of staff before? I don't ever remember hearing us having that, and suddenly we have one.
I don't ever remember that. So I'll be very curious to see how these all play out. So you said before we started the show that you have the list. So bring us up to date, like where we stand. So, I mean, as far as like all the traditional positional coaches, we've hired everybody but an offensive coordinator, right? For like our traditional coaches, are we still missing other positions?
Well, interestingly enough, we don't have a tight ends coach yet.
Oh, that's right, tight ends.
We haven't locked one in, but both of the guys we're interviewing for offensive coordinator are tight end coaches or tight end / something else. So
okay.
And like Brian Angelico, who is interviewing for offensive coordinator right now, he holds both those titles. He is both the pass game coordinator and the tight end coach in Minnesota. So it's not unheard of to think he could be offensive coordinator, and that's only for one reason. He's not going to call the plays. Mike McCarthy already said, I'm calling the plays, which if we get there, what was the name of Tolson, the guy that we all thought was going to be our offensive coordinator from the Saints? I've heard that's a big thing that turned him away. He's like, I wanted to call my own plays. Mike McCarthy said that ahead of time. So we might fill 2 positions with one guy. It just depends on how. But that other than him, I think that's the only one we have. Oh, an outside linebackers coach. We haven't hired one for him.
Because you've got to almost, if you're going to be an offensive coordinator under Mike McCarthy, you have to be okay with taking that back seat. So maybe this is, the job that I would say maybe on paper you wouldn't look like you're quite ready for. And so then this allows you to put that on your resume, right? And say you were offensive coordinator, even if you didn't do like the job in the most robust of terms, because McCarthy controls so much of the offense.
Exactly. And from what I read about Brian Angelico, his job was pretty much to help implement the passing game and then make sure it ran smoothly on game day. And I pretty much just add a running game to that. And that's what we need you to do. Don't call the plays, just help implement it throughout the week, which would be great because the more eyes on this offense, the better at this point. I will take every person to come in and say, no, that's not going to work or that. And I do find it interesting that we have a packed and supposedly impressive tight end room, and a lot of the offensive guys we're bringing in have tight end experience, whether it's playing or coaching. That's just intriguing to me. I like that we might not lose that spin.
Yeah. So we did the show last week. We didn't have the Patrick Graham announcement as defensive coordinator. We weren't quite there yet. So what do you think about the addition to Graham to the staff? Like, you've had time now to kind of like digest that and learn a little bit about him. Do you feel like he's a good fit in Pittsburgh? And how do you feel like this will be different than what we saw under like Mike Tomlin, Terrell Austin?
Number one, I don't ever feel like Terrell Austin was a fully, I don't like using the word competent, but in a sense that there's a level that you expect out of NFL defensive coordinators in 2025-26, and that was not Terrell Austin. And I don't know if he didn't have the relationship with Mike Tomlin or Mike Tomlin didn't allow it, but there needed to be more, hey, don't do this. Hey, you should try this. And that wasn't going on. Patrick Adams already seems to be someone that he says that he doesn't come in with a Patrick Adams playbook or Patrick Graham's playbook. Sorry. He comes in and he says, who do I have? What does the season look like? And takes every little piece, puts it together. And then it's almost a week by week thing that he decides what plays to implement, what plays not. And to me, that's a fascinating approach to defense. And especially with the kind of haphazard way it seemed like our defenses have been lately, I feel like he can bring a bit more stability. A lot of the interviews I've read and listened to about him from other players or people that have worked with him, stability is a big thing. The people have said that's something he brings to the role and something he instills in other people. And I kind of like what he might be able to do with our linebackers. I feel like he might be able to rein in the middle linebacker mess that we had. And I'm hoping we don't get rid of Patrick Queen. A lot of people said ditch the money and all that. I think you get Patrick Queen in this kind of a defense and let him do a little more of what he's good at rather than what we needed him to do. And we'll see a bit more production out of that.
Well, he hasn't had the most talented defenses, right, player-wise. Like, he didn't have a lot of big names other than Max Crosby. Sorry, Bentley found a squeaky toy. So he didn't have a lot of those big name players, right? His defenses weren't full of the TJ Watts and Cam Haywards and, Patrick Queens and Joey Porter Jr.'s and all these guys, Alex Highsmith. So he was able to me, to kind of do something with those defenses that weren't stacked. So I'm hoping if we don't lose everybody, that he'll be able to do something with the talent we have.
Oh, 100%. I like that you brought up that he didn't really have that talent in places before. And it's good to know without that talent and dealing with injuries to guys like Max Crosby and all that last year in the Raiders, his Raiders defense was better than Pittsburgh's defense. When you come down to pure numbers, it simply was. So I like handing him a more impressive engine to see what he can do with it this time. So it's kind of like what you said about the guys we're bringing on offense. It's kind of like you're not to the point yet of being the next step up. So let's bring you in here, see what you can do, give you a better set of skills than what you had before, and then see where you go after.
I guess I'm curious. So if like you felt like Terrell Austin was hamstrung by Mike Tomlin, right? Like that was the thing. How is that different than what Mike McCarthy is doing with this offense? Doesn't that feel like the same thing? Like we're just flipping it from the defense to the offense?
In a sense, I guess so. But I honestly, if it had to be one way or the other in Pittsburgh right now, we need more micromanagement on the offense from people who know what they're doing. And we did not have that. It was, I mean, don't get me wrong. Arthur Smith did his best and he tried to bring his own style of things to it. But at the end of the day, I don't think he had full control over what went on. And if Mike Tomlin didn't like something that was going to happen, it was changed. In this case, for at least from what I've seen, there's going to be more of an open stream of communication in the coaching staff now and a willingness to talk things out. And I really hope that's true because it's going to be about a relationship more than can our offensive coordinator call plays. It's going to be can our offensive coordinator work with Mike McCarthy to come out and build a competent offense every week.
Because I almost would have preferred that Mike Tomlin just called the defense himself, right? Like called Terrell Austin special projects guy or whatever you want to call him, or call him defensive coordinator and just be upfront like McCarthy is about the offense and say, well, I'm going to do this as myself and this guy's here to do whatever that defined role is. And I would have preferred that because I agree with you. I think that constant, like, I'm going to look over your shoulder and correct what you're doing, assuming that was what went on, for somebody like Terrell Austin, that's got to be frustrating. And then for the defensive guys, it's got to feel like there's like a disconnect there. I don't know. It's hard because then you read, like, did you see Mason Rudolph's post to Mike Tomlin? I mean, like hits you right in the feels, like it kills you. You're like, that's the stuff, man. That's the stuff. And that's the stuff that I feel like we always have in Pittsburgh, like those things that like that feeling that like you're family and you're part of something. And so I kind of hope that we don't lose that. You know what I mean? I know change is good, but it always makes me nervous. So what about any of the other hires that we've made? Are there any of those other guys that kind of stand out to you?
Yeah, there's an interesting one that's kind of decided he's a turncoat. A former the former Bengals defensive lineman is now our defensive line coach, Demoto Pecco. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. He's only 41 years old, so I think he's just a little older than Rodgers or younger. He's younger than Rodgers with that now, right? He's coming in and he has only ever
Barely, yeah.
coached. Yeah, he's only ever coached once with Mike McCarthy, but he only stopped playing in 2020. So he stopped playing in 2020, did some other football related things, came in and was a defensive assistant or in a defensive capacity with Mike McCarthy in 2024, and then was not associated with the team in 2025, and now he's back here. So this is the fresh face that we didn't get with a head coach. This is the closest thing we're going to get because with him and Patrick Graham and maybe even Brian Angelico, if we get him, from what I've looked at, if he comes in an offensive coordinator, those are guys that I'm thinking Mike McCarthy is also looking to kind of bridge the gap because there's a Mike Tomlin shaped hole that's going to be there in Pittsburgh. And it's not going to be in how games are called. It's not going to be about when challenges are made or anything on the football field. It's about how the coaches and staff are relate to the players. Mike Tomlin excelled at that. That's why people came here. So Mike McCarthy, while people might like to coach or to play for him, he's not going to have that relationship with those players. He knows he can't come in and try to beat Tomlin. So why don't you bring in other guys that relate well to the players that they've been with, bridge that gap so he doesn't have to step into that role, which he's not supposed to. So I like that where he just not going to come in and try to be something he's not. Instead, he's going to build a coaching staff that it doesn't try to replace Tomlin, but tries to ease that a little bit.
And I think the Steelers, and that's the thing I keep trying to be open minded about, right? Like when Chuck Noll left the team, everybody was worried about this guy that they would bring in and nobody would be able to fill Chuck Noll's shoes, right? And we went through that same thing when Cowher left. Nobody would ever be able to fill Cowher's shoes. How did we get so lucky that we got somebody so great on the heel of Chuck Noll? And then for the most part, I don't think you can. I mean, look, people can say what they want about Tomlin and the playoff losses, right? But an unbelievable career as a head coach, and so I think you feel like you got lucky 3 times in a row, right? Like you bottled lightning. Like how many times can you do that? And then at what point do you kind of have to do like what the Patriots did and do this like hard reset? Where like we're going to bring in these people and we're going to go scorched earth. And I mean, and look, it's hard to argue with because it's worked for them. I mean, look how fast that they're getting back to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? While the Steelers are still trying to kind of figure it out. So I hope that this is that like that change that we needed, and that you're right that we don't need McCarthy to be Tomlin. We just need him to bring that like umbrella of leadership. So because those other guys can have those relationships. He doesn't have to try to be him or recreate a system. In fact, it's almost better if he doesn't, and he's just true to himself.
Exactly. I want to put a bet on how many times throughout the offseason and preseason Mike McCarthy's going to have to say, I'm not Tomlin. I'm not trying to be Tomlin. That exact quote, I want to see how many times he has to say that to the press, because that's all that, I mean, the fan base is going to be talking about, the media. How do you step into Tomlin's shoes? And maybe that's why we went with McCarthy rather than immediately jumping into the youth. Maybe we needed that bridge year or two with an older guy to ease into the idea of a new guy.
Tomlin. I mean, his resume is almost the same as Tomlin's, right? Like very similar playoff win-loss ratio, very similar regular season. Both won a Super Bowl. So I mean, they have very similar head coaching resumes. So he doesn't need to try to be Tomlin. Like he already is, like as far as his achievements go, relatively speaking. I mean, I'm sure that they out edge each other in some categories, but all in all, right, he doesn't need to be. So maybe you're right. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe this is our buffer, because you bring that young guy in now, and then you will always compare him to Tomlin. But with Mike McCarthy, I mean, his resume stands on its own.
Exactly. And I don't let's just say, from all intents and purposes, it looks like if Aaron Rodgers wants to come back, we're going to have a run back with Aaron Rodgers. So at the very least, we're going to have two guys who have worked together, know how to run an offense together. I think we're going, well, I don't think me and you are going to be surprised, but a lot of in the media are going to be surprised at how quick the Pittsburgh fan base suddenly was like, wait a second, this McCarthy's guy is not bad after 2 or 3 games. I'm not saying it's going to happen or guaranteeing it. I'm saying there's such a good chance that the offense is going to look so different than we've had in Pittsburgh for a while. And I think that's where people have to understand. That's the difference between the records of Tomlin and McCarthy. It's that one guy excelled on defense and McCarthy excels on offense.
Yeah.
And no defense, no side of the ball can run on autopilot. I think if you bring in the group that he has, between Patrick Graham and down, and you give them this incredible defensive roster, expensive, but I do believe very, very talented, then all you have to do on the other side is watch McCarthy score more points. And yet again, we don't have to be the Chiefs. We just need the 10-7 points I wanted last year that we didn't get. So just give us that. And I genuinely think this fan base very, very quickly is going to be excited about the prospect of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the fan base came around a lot faster than I thought they were going to. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm usually the one who I'll react big and then I'll calm down and I'll be okay. But like if I'm upset, then I know that everybody else is going to be a lot more upset because I usually tend to not get that upset about stuff like that. I mean, we knew it was coming. Somebody was coming, right? So, yeah. So I was surprised at how much they kind of calmed down. I think that the tears during this speech, we talked about this a little bit last week. I think that definitely helped win some people over, right? I mean, he hit the Yinzers right in the gut with that. I agree with you. I think if he look, I don't even think we have to put up crazy points. I think if he brings out some kind of offense that looks remarkably different than whatever we've seen from Pittsburgh for the last 20 years, I think the fan base is going to be so happy, just to see something new, something fresh on offense. I think that'll go a long way towards making the fan base calm down and think, okay, maybe this wasn't a bad choice. Maybe we can work with this.
Oh, 100%. I'm really excited to see an offense that looks like something that I don't fully understand. Yeah. I should not fully understand an NFL offense. And I really, really started to be able to predict the Steelers offense over the last.
I just don't want to hear anymore. Any more teams go like, we knew what they were going to do. And like, even if they didn't, you know what I mean? You just have found our sore spot and you're going to keep hitting it. So I just don't want to be part of hearing that anymore. We knew what they were going to do on every play.
And this is actually, you talked about the, just burn everything down and start again kind of thing. For the Steelers, this is as close to it as you get, I think. I mean, we only retained, I'm looking at 4 coaches, and that includes a strength and conditioning coach. So out of an entire coaching staff, we pretty much said, no, we're going to do entirely new. And we haven't even got to the player part yet. I mean, that's the part that I'm worried about. I kind of expected this when Tomlin went, that we are going to excavate everything else.
Yeah,
the players, that's where it's gonna, and that's where I'm gonna kind of know what we're going into next season with, because right now I'm just going based on the knowledge of the roster we have now, and a bunch of potential fill-ins, draft pick here, draft pick there. I want to start knowing what pieces we're going to have going forward, because now the coaching staff is being put together and there's only a couple spaces left. I'm starting to get an idea of the competence level that this entire group is going to bring, and that's higher because Mike Tomlin brought a competence level that a lot of his assistants and other coaches on his staff didn't bring to that same level, and maybe that's what held Tomlin back to certain extents.
But yeah,
now that Tomlin's gone,
the guys get excited about some of these coaches that are coming. Do you know what I mean? Maybe they get excited about the change and they want to stay. I mean, look, we talk about this like mass exodus, and you hate to lose your best guys, right? But there is going to definitely be, some kind of loss, attrition that takes place. It's unavoidable, right? And so I think it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. I mean, the Steelers organization has been adamant that they're not in any way, that there's no kind of rebuild, right? And I mean, that is, in my lifetime, the Steelers haven't had a rebuild since Chuck Noll took over the team before my time. right? I mean, they just don't do that. That's not what we do. And so it'll be interesting to see, like, is this just another one of those like half-ass off seasons where, we keep who we have and we cobble something together to run it out there next year? Or, are they making a serious effort? I mean, if you're bringing Aaron Rodgers back, you're saying we think we can do something this year with Aaron Rodgers, right? Why else would Aaron Rodgers want to come play, right? He's going to say, oh, I got another year in me. I'll come back for my old coach. He's not coming back just to hang out with some half-ass, 7-8 or whatever team. Like he's going to want to try to win. So, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting because if you're Aaron Rodgers, how do you know if you want to come back when you don't know who else is going to be there and who you're going to be throwing the ball to and all of those things? And that, but then also, how do you make that, like, as a team, how do you make that decision? Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I'm tired of hearing about Will Howard. He's not ready.
That is true. And you just brought up a great point, because the danger of this coming off season is that the longer Rodgers takes to decide, the longer other players might realize that they have to drag their own decisions out. And we might start to lose players because of that, or miss out on free agents that don't know if they want to come here. And that's what I don't want. If Rodgers is going to do it, I understand Mike McCarthy said I'm not pressuring Rodgers. He needs to decompress and all that. I get that, but we can't do what we did last year. I understand it was extenuating circumstances. Rodgers had family stuff and life stuff, and he needed time. That's not going on this year. Okay, all the grandparents are dead. You can't miss any more class. That's how it goes. So yeah, that just I don't not want another offseason entirely based on will Rodgers come here and every decision is going to be hinged on that. I cannot do that.
Right. And then every decision is going to just wait on that. We're just going to wait and wait and wait and wait. And I just think we can. I mean, I think we either have to go start looking at building weapons for whoever this next quarterback is we get, right? Whatever that looks like. Or do we really think we have the pieces to run it with Aaron Rodgers this year? And I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming Mike McCarthy's had conversations with them. The two are obviously closer than a usual brand new head coach and possibly returning veteran quarterback, right? Since they know each other. So I'm assuming they've had some conversations where McCarthy at least has an idea of what he's willing to do. And, Rodgers has an idea of what the team's kind of hoping for from him. Is interesting, but
I'm hoping a lot of this is just what you're supposed to say in situations.
Right.
Because when McCarthy was asked that in the press conference, what else is he going to say about someone he's won a Super Bowl with, is probably good friends with? He's not going to say, nah, we're going to go another direction, when he knows a decision hasn't been made by Rod. He was kind of backed into a corner. He only had one
Or
thing.
saying like, oh, that old fart, like, I don't want him leading my. I mean,
yeah,
right. You're kind in that. I mean, look, hey, this goes back to what I always said about Tomlin, right? Is the fans would complain about the stuff he would say at press conferences, but look at McCarthy's situation with Rodgers, right? You can't win. Like, there's not an answer you give that is like the perfect answer. You have to try to be positive, but be a little bit vague.
Exactly. And there's very few situations where I feel like we get the quarterback who's going to get us over the hump.
Yeah.
I can't really look at any guy and say, you know what, he's in range for us to get, or you're going to come here with the team that we have. So if it's not Rodgers, then it's a bridge guy.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, if Howard's not ready and he ends up winning out over the other two guys in camp, have the job, kid. Do what you want to do. But my goodness gracious, oh, Jersey Shore, oh good lord.
I know, poor Chris, right? What are you doing, Chris? You got to stand up, tell that girl no. It's enough. No more Jersey Shore.
I am so proud to say I have never seen a single episode of that in my life, and yet I'm aware of how awful it is without ever seeing it.
The old stuff, the old Jersey Shore was quite entertaining back in the day, but I don't know. Now they're kind of old to be going out and going on benders all the time, but whatever.
Oh, now to jump back into the positional coaches, there's another guy that I like the kind of different approach he's going to bring, because it's Raymond Shenyang. He comes over from the Cowboys. He started out as a offensive quality control coach with the Broncos in 2022. But what I like about him, he was an offensive line coach with the Cowboys. He was not a running backs coach, and now he is our running backs coach. And for some reason, that just jumped off the page to me, and I got really excited about that. I'm like, what a unique perspective to be able to coach running backs, knowing how to be and coach an offensive line. That for a team that relies so much on the offensive line and the running game, that's a perspective I don't think we've had. We've always brought in guys who knew how to coach running backs or offensive line and offensive line. So I'm gonna watch to see how this guy does. He's only been in the NFL since 2022, but he has had some pretty good offensive line with the Cowboys in the last 3 years, and I would not mind that at all.
Yeah, he's considered a very like early up and comer, so I think that he's an interesting choice. I was really sad to see Eddie Faulkner go to the Ravens. Dak and I talked about this off camera before the show started. Look, there's some coaches that leave, Dunbar, Faulkner, right? There's some that leave, and you just like wish these guys like all the best. You know what I mean? You just want them to be like so successful, and he's definitely was one for me. But now he can suck a fucking egg, and I hope they lose. So.
The way I always can tell if you weren't just a good coach, but if you were actually a good person behind the scenes, is the amount of Pittsburgh media that immediately say, "I can't believe he's gone." And my goodness, second Faulkner was gone.
We knew he was leaving. We knew he was leaving because he was not on the list of coaches that they were retaining.
Yep. And
we all knew he was leaving, and the Pittsburgh media is still like devastated at the loss. Yeah, good guy.
It was. So that does but I'm really excited to see what he brings. And the good thing is
because he brings some serious experience. I mean, I think people forget that he stepped up and filled in as interim OC. Shared that responsibility with Mike Sullivan when we finally fired Matt Canada. So I mean, he's got a lot of like experience. You know what I mean? Like a bigger view than some running backs coaches. So yeah.
And I wouldn't mind if in 4 or 5 years, once he's worked his way up a little bit more, if he looks back to Pittsburgh or wherever situation we're in and we get an Eddie Faulkner OC or something, I would not mind that at all. But for right now, I hope him and Derrick Henry do awful every single week. That's what I have to say. No injuries, just really bad.
Like each other. Right. I hope they don't like each other. I hope there's drama. I don't know, somebody cheat on somebody with somebody else's wife. Like, I'll take whatever I can get. Like, whatever kind of drama we can drum up that'll throw their season off kilter works for me. But yeah.
Exactly. So and Adam Henry is our wide receivers coach. I think Zach Kazani was good, but I think he reached the max potential with what when you can only do so much with a guy like DK Metcalf. I understand that it's not, but there has to be a level where you say we spent $120 million on this guy. We better get someone else in here. And if anyone was impressed by the Bills' offense last year, Adam Henry was the wide receivers coach, and he did a lot with guys that not many people know. Keenan Coleman was by many people considered a bust before this, and he actually turned him into a very good-looking wide receiver. I am excited to see that, and I'm hoping he has a say in things because we need somebody who is going to be coaching to set up and say, no, all these guys are the same. You have Metcalf, and then you have guy. We need you have, and Mike McCarthy specified that during his opening press conference, and I don't know if we talked about it last week, so I'll allude back to it. He said that you have to have wide receivers that can play all three things, that can play the inside, the slot, and the outside. Yeah, you need the X, Y, and Z guy, and we don't have that. We had guys that I think they were all slot guys, and then DK Metcalf. And you, if anyone watched our offense last year, you saw what happened, especially when DK Metcalf was out. So, even experience aside, I'm hoping that there's voices in this coaching staff room right now that will say this isn't good enough, and then Omar Khan will listen to them.
Yeah. Do you think I saw a couple people say this on social media after the Mike McCarthy hire? Do you think Omar Khan is in the hot seat? Do you think that this like McCarthy hire is because Omar Khan's in the hot seat? Oh, I don't.
No, I actually don't believe that at all. Yeah, I don't know where I would have to no. It's literally the opposite of that. I think Omar Khan is the key to Pittsburgh's success going forward. I mean, just the thought of losing Andy Weidel was one thing, but losing, I can't do that. It's not just the aggressiveness. He he could have sold out so much of the team last year for a mild hope. But I think there was some realism in him, and he looked and he's like, you know what? This team is a ceiling, and I hope we get to that ceiling, but I'm not going to mortgage everything. Because if people didn't count, the Steelers have 12 draft picks in this draft. The last time they had that many picks was in 1992 when there were 12 rounds. So it's very different now. So this is an incredible thing, and I keep wanting to say it's only been a couple years. It's over 3 decades since the Steelers have had this many picks, and you have a good drafting group now. Mike McCarthy likes to be involved in things like that, not overly, but he likes to have a say in things like that. I am excited to see what we do because maybe we don't find a quarterback that will save us this year, but maybe we find a guy in the lower rounds that will be the guy for us in a little bit if we can just be patient. And maybe we needed a pick or two to trade up for him. We have those now. Yeah. I want to see trades all over the place. Trade Palooza for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and maybe it gives us a chance, whether if this isn't the year for a quarterback, I just still have trouble believing it is, then it gives us the opportunity to look at what we have and what we need to put in place, right? We have all these draft picks and to be able to really build that roster so that when we find that guy, we're ready for him instead of the other way around. Like we brought Rodgers in as this take a shot at a Super Bowl, but we didn't have the foundation in place for Rodgers to do anything with, right? Like, I mean, look, Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, TJ Watt, and Alex Highsmith or whatever, Nick Herbig aren't enough to get us to a Super Bowl, right? Cam Hayward, we needed complete, the offense especially. We just needed, something different, and we needed that defense to kind of step up. I mean, to really come together as a unit. And I felt like Terrell Austin really, he had a real opportunity after, 2 years ago, the way that season ended. And then, to kind of blow it this past year was really disappointing. So I hope that this just looks like a different team this year. Do you know what I mean? With those things, I hope that whatever it is, they just look more unified. They buy into whatever this new vision is, and they're just kind of ready to move forward.
Well, I think the biggest difference that we're going to see that I can already call right now, and I'm willing to stick my neck out to say this, is late game defensive freshness is what we're going to see the biggest difference, because that we have an old defense. Yeah, we have the young guys on that, but we have our guys are old, and especially late in the season when they have been worn down to the bone by an offense that can't get out of its own way. Everyone's like, this is the defense's fault. Look at the defense shit in the bed. It's like, no, it's on the offense too. You guys aren't seeing the whole picture. So in this year, even if we don't have the best offense in the NFL, it's going to be an NFL level competent offense, which we haven't had in a little while. And you're going to see guys like TJ Watt have much better numbers than last year, not because, it's a massive resurgence and it's some medical thing or it's how we train. He wasn't fucking tired. Cam Hayward isn't going to be fucking tired. Our guys aren't going to be exhausted at the end of games. And that's why I could never put any of those, even the Baltimore loss in some ways, I could not put on the defense because we wear this defense down to a nub, as Mike Tomlin would say. That's exactly what we did, and it's not going to happen this year. So it's not Super Bowl or bust, but it definitely is fresh defense.
Yeah, and that was our complaint, all those years under Kenny Pickett, under Russell Wilson. Do you know what I mean? Those were the complaints then, that the defense never got any rest, and we expected. And I do think it was better with Rodgers than it was in previous years. It was definitely better this past year, but it still just wasn't good enough. And it wasn't sustainable as the game went on. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you're going to have a game where, your quarterback is off or your offense is off, your offensive line, your wide receiver, whatever it is, right? You get out coached. Something's going to happen like that. But it seemed to happen to us at the worst possible times, against teams that we should be soundly beating. You know what I mean? And that would be the times we would fall apart. And that's the stuff I would like to see, is for us to really capitalize on those opportunities.
Oh, and that on offense, I think we're going to, because there was such a sharp ceiling for this offense. And the biggest term that I'm going to use right now is margin of error. That's another big difference between the team that's coming and the teams that we had in the last 2, maybe even 3 to 4 years, where, boy, I hope we don't get a penalty on this drive. boy, I hope nothing. The incomplete pass to DK Metcalf in the playoff game, I'm going to be thinking about that for probably years
Right.
because the team just deflated after that. And
Yeah.
instantly in my head, I'm like, margin of error. Think of the amount of times in the past couple years where one or two penalties derailed an entire drive at a crucial time, or one drop, or we NFL teams that succeed and get deep into playoffs, they make it through those moments. They
You're
get through. They pick
resilient.
themselves
You're
up.
resilient. You have to be able to bounce back
Yes.
from that stuff. I always say, like, you think about that touchdown pass to Santonio Holmes, right? People forget that Ben had just thrown that same pass to him at that same spot in the same end zone the play before, and he dropped it. And he said, he talks about it all the time, that he walked away thinking, that was my shot, right? Like that was my shot to be somebody, and I'll never get that chance again. And Ben went right back to him, right? Because there was resiliency there from that team. And that to me was something we really lacked. I mean, it just felt like when things didn't go well, if things were going well, we could sustain it. But if they weren't going well, we faced any adversity, we just crumbled.
And I know that, we can't compare the 2008 Super Bowl to many other situations in the Steelers' lore, but I don't remember the last time that I felt anywhere near as confident as when we went up to have our last drive.
Right.
I just sat and I'm like, okay, let's do it. And for the last decade, even with Ben, the last little bit, end of games, I'd be like, oh, goodness gracious. And I would be, there wasn't that calm that
Yeah.
a lot of other teams get when they're like, oh, okay, we have a minute and a half. Oh, we're good. No, it's like a minute and a half. Oh, we don't know how to manage time on this coaching staff. There's going to be a bad challenge somewhere. Broderick Jones is going to get 2 holding calls. And
We're going to
by the way,
prevent defense and allow him to pick up like 8
yes,
yards at a pop. I mean, yeah, it's
and it's simple fixes. That I mean, if you want to, I believe Terrell Austin lost his job whenever we allowed Jamar Chase to get historic amount of yards on the same slant play over and over.
over
And
and
I
over.
think that for that moment, we're like, okay, everyone in the stands, everyone watching, even if there's Bengals fans just saying, I can't believe you're still giving this to us. So moments like that, I think won't be an issue this time around. Or if that'll be a Dick LeBeau thing. I always knew when there were Dick LeBeau coach defenses that we were going to have a rough first quarter. Dick LeBeau was going to figure it out, and we were going to shut him down for 3 quarters. So I never cared about what that first quarter looked like. That's not the case here. But I hope it's going to be closer to that going forward.
Right, right. All right. So Super Bowl is coming up this weekend, right? Got to be cheering. I'm sorry. We have to cheer against the Patriots. You cannot
absolutely. I don't want them to get 7.
We cannot have the Patriots get 7. I'm sorry. I like Drake May. I feel like this is a whole different Patriots team. I don't want to hold against them what happened in the past, but I am, so they can't have 7. So sorry, they need to lose. But what a joke the Pro Bowl is. I mean, it seems like just when they say it can't get any jokier, how can you invite Shador Sanders and Joe Flacco? Those are your Pro Bowl ultra. How is that possible? There were so many quarterbacks that scored. Like, this isn't even about the Steelers.
It isn't. Just at this point, just get rid of it. There's no reason to have it. And someone said, just make it another award. You get a little asterisk by your name. Congratulations, you're this or something. But the moment, and everyone, and I don't know how long it's been that every time the Pro Bowl.
With high school, like they do the some team like the on the like the all like it's in the newspaper, right? Where it's like the all and whatever, but it's not like a game. They just name you, they vote you, the media votes you to this imaginary team, right? That's what they need to start doing for the Pro Bowl, because nobody wants to do it anymore. I mean, Justin Fields turned it down because he's going to work on his like development next season. Like, get the fuck out of here! Like, why are these people? First of all, the fact that Joe Flacco has never been in a Pro Bowl after he won Comeback Player of the Year is wild to me. I did not realize this was his first one, so that was wrong. He should have been in a Pro Bowl sooner, but not this year.
No, it's the moment they moved it away from Hawaii and it stopped, because a lot of old media, which around this time of year I like reading a lot of old NFL media because you get to hear about how it was back then.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I said is the players missed out on so much away from the spotlight coaching from other players. They said Peyton Manning would hold court at the pool and players would just come and sit around him and he would just dole out all this stuff, and you could go to different rooms and you could know there'd be players hanging around that you would never get access to before.
Yeah.
And you lose all of that. And not only that, players got to get away a lot. You bring your families. It was an event. And now it's, number one, I have nothing against flag football. I have coached flag football. I wish every flag football team the best, but it just, no, it should not be a thing anymore. You get a plaque and you're done.
Well, I mean, if you look, I get it. Like, I get that the guys don't want to get hurt, right? I mean, you have a lot on the line and it's a cutthroat business, right? It's not like it used to be. So I get it that they don't want to like risk going out there playing in the Pro Bowl, tearing an ACL, playing flag football or something. I really do get it. But so I agree with you. I feel like if you're not going to really do anything, then why not just eliminate it? I don't know. They keep talking about they're going to make these changes to it that bring it back into the mainstream and all this stuff. And to me, every year it just gets worse.
Yeah, and even when they moved it away from Hawaii for a moment, I'm like, oh, okay. And then I think the years they started to like have team captains and pick teams, and they made that a whole spec. I started to lose. I don't even remember the last time I've watched a Pro Bowl.
I haven't watched it in years.
Yeah, I think I was still living in Thailand the last time I watched a Pro Bowl. That was a while ago. Yeah, so no, I am perfectly fine with it. It's a what was the term I heard? Participation trophy. There it is. That's what it's become. It's become a participation. And while I understand that with the direction the Pro Bowl is going, you would want someone like Shedeur Sanders there. Joe Flacco is there too. So that kind of goes against what you're. So even if it was like a geared thing towards the new NFL media, none of it makes sense about why it's still around.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to me. It really is. It's crazy to me. And it makes me sad because for like a player like Ben Skoranek, like he should be there like soaking all this up, right? Loving the honor, like, like Miles Killebrew used to get Pro Bowl all the time. Like it's an honor, like for some of these guys that don't get like as much attention from the media or, as much whatever some of the other players do. So I think that's awesome for them. And then I think for it to just be kind of like a crappy event just sucks. And now it's all part of the Super Bowl stuff. So it's not even like its own standalone event. It's like it's just lame.
Yeah. I just realized, wasn't it today? Or is it tomorrow? I literally don't know. I just realized I don't know if it's happened or not. I have no idea. I could care less.
I have no idea. Yeah, I'm completely clueless. Maybe it was today.
Because I remember someone saying that they didn't even get a weekend spot anymore. It was just shoved in the middle of the week. So I'm wondering.
Well, that would make sense because they moved it to be part of the Super Bowl. It used to be the weekend before the Super Bowl, right? But now they've moved it to be part of the Super Bowl festivities, and that's not going to last the whole 8 days or whatever. So it makes sense that to compress it, they would put it in the middle of the week. So I guess so.
Yeah, and just from a mental health perspective, a lot of players from the actually good Pro Bowl era did say that because for people who weren't back then, whenever a team would lose in the AFC or NFC championship, it was pretty much you went one of two ways. You either went to the Pro Bowl or you went to the Super Bowl. If you were in the Super Bowl, you did not play in the Pro Bowl. So if you were in the Pro Bowl, you knew that you didn't make it there. And guys said it helped them decompress from it. It helped them know that they were going to get away from a lot of the media, because the media, even if they were in Hawaii, they really kind of kicked back too. It wasn't, we're going to cover every moment. It's okay, we're going to have, and players really got to, with their families and away from everything, kind of separate themselves from the league and from the team and just deal with what the loss meant to them. They don't get that anymore. It's right back to things, and that is not a healthy way to go.
Yeah. So one more thing is off Steelers topic, but I got to ask you, What do you think about Belichick and Kraft getting snubbed for first ballot Hall of Fame? I mean, there's a part of you that's like, any boo boo, you deserved it.
Oh, absolutely. But also, I am shocked at the amount of people that thought he was going to get in right away. This whole time I'm like, yeah, no, someone's going to hold him. So if it's all anonymous and no one has to say, someone that doesn't like Belichick and was fucked over by him during his reign is going to make sure he doesn't get in. And Kraft was in charge of it too. So I was not as shocked when it happened. I was shocked that I was a little right in my head. I was like, okay, maybe there is a little football justice going on here,
Right?
because will he get in? Absolutely. But I think people did say, whether it was petty or not, no, you cheated. You were actually found guilty of cheating. You got to wait now.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, granted, I'm a little biased. He did cheat us directly out of a Super Bowl. But yeah, no, I'm perfectly fine with it.
So does it preclude Brady from getting in first ballot? I mean, if you're cheating, right? He was part of that.
Except for the fact that the NFL has seemingly embraced whatever Tom Brady wants to do. I want to own the Raiders. Well, yeah, but I also want to do announcing. Okay, well, I also want to be involved in the inner workings of the Raiders while I'm announcing, even though we're not supposed to. That's fine. Just do it. You're Tom Brady.
Now, right, you're Tom Brady. We can't say no to you.
That would shock me. That would. This didn't. That would. Because not as that Belichick didn't win Super Bowls anywhere else as a head coach. And Brady immediately went somewhere else and won one, while Belichick and Kraft did not.
That's fair. That's fair. All right.
I always thought that at least to me, that ended the question of was it Belichick or Brady. The moment that happened, I'm like, okay, it was more Brady.
Yeah, it was always more Brady. But look, I think it's hard to deny. Like, I think, it's why I was so frustrated by the cheating stuff when it happened, because you don't need to cheat, right? Like, what a fucking bully you are. Like, you don't need to cheat. You're already winning everything, right? I mean, you got to imagine they didn't cheat their whole way through those 22 seasons or whatever it was, right? There's a legitimate talent and skill there as a coach, as a player, right? All of that is there. And there's a lot of good that Bill Belichick did. I mean, it's hard to take that away from him. So it's just wild to me. I mean, I think he cheated. I think it's nice to see them knock down a peg or two, but I was pretty surprised. Yeah.
I wonder if the NFL, because there's been a couple shows I've watched. I know they're fiction, but when the NFL is ever brought into a show about billionaires or ever, they call it the only way that America crowns kings now is if you're an NFL owner. That they said that, and it has to be bestowed on you. And so situations like that, I just lost my train of thought about why I was saying that. But I'm sure it was going to be good. In the middle of that, literally my train of thought went away. That's what happens when life outside of podcasts is insane.
I was sure it was a genius level thought that I had.
I'm sure it was. Right. The universe wasn't ready for it.
Any genius level Steelers thoughts left before we go?
I think we're going to be surprised at how grateful we are that Tom Arth came back. Weirdly enough, I think a lot of people are overlooking that, because that's a consistent guy that I think is going to be important. And whether it's Aaron Rodgers is coming back, or maybe it's because I don't want to spark the Will Howard stuff, but maybe he has a connection with Will Howard, and if they're seeing him as anything down the line, keep that going. But I was surprised that we kept him. I was expecting a quarterback's coach to be someone new to brought in. So I'm watching Tom Arth specifically because that one did surprise me more than the other one.
Me too, because I thought McCarthy would want his own guy. Like, he's supposed to be this quarterback grooming guru, right? So I would have thought he would have wanted his own guy that he already either worked with before or somebody that he felt comfortable with. So it tells me he must like what Arth was doing in Pittsburgh, which is interesting because the fan base thinks that we can't develop quarterbacks. So,
yeah. Well, and this is where, actually, that's a very good point. Maybe with Tomlin no longer here, I want to see how that ability to develop players changes, or does it change? Because we also, there's only one strength and conditioning coach we brought back. Every other, the one that we brought back is that we have is new. So with it, So maybe they won't have people pushing sleds, and we won't have any injuries like that ever again.
Right.
But with the ability to progress players, and that goes hand in hand with Omar Khan being able to draft. Because if you can draft players knowing that you're bringing them into a situation that they can grow, that kind of opens up the ability of what the scope of what players you can look at, rather than just saying we have to bring finished, polished products in here, or it's not going to work. And I think for a little bit with Pittsburgh, that was the thing. If you didn't bring a polished product into, I mean, come on, Nick Herbig. I know we coached him up a bit, but Nick Herbig came and hit the ground ready to play NFL football.
Yeah.
And we are lucky that it happened. I don't think you can develop that. Derek Harmon hit the ground running. I think we got lucky with that, but Broderick Jones come in, needed development, was a project, and then so things like that. I'm hoping it goes a different direction with this new regime.
Yeah, because you can't have everybody be ready-made.
Exactly. It's not, and that definitely got in our way and forced us into the corner that we have of having to spend a lot of money on players that maybe we didn't want to at the time. I fully believe it was worth it, but at the time, maybe they really didn't want to spend that kind of money. Yeah,
that makes sense. All right. Well, if you have joined us tonight, we appreciate it. Please do us a favor, like, share, and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. You can also find us and the podcast on X. So please do us a favor and give us a follow. And we will be back next Tuesday to talk about, maybe we'll have a new offensive coordinator by then.
Exactly. There's always something that happens during the week that makes sure that we have plenty to talk about.
Yep. See you next week.
Leanne and Zach would like to thank you for tuning in to the Steel City Huddle podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss a thing.